If you ever come into my house, you're going to notice that everything is pretty much organized. And I like to decorate. I like to change things around all the time. I have picture frames and I have little cutesy pillows and I have decorations up. You know, the house is clean, the house is organized, everything has a place where they should go. And I try my best. It looks like I have a bedroom. My kids have their own little play area in their bedroom and a living room, and it looks like I'm trying. You will also notice that my furniture doesn't match and I don't have the best place to put things, and I'm trying to make do with what I own, but it's organized and it's clean and it's fine. If an interior designer walked into my house, I'm sure they would see a lot of flaws, a lot of things that I should probably do differently or change things around, change some furniture or something to make the flow better or feng shui or whatever you want to call it. But it works. Things are decorated, things are organized, and I'm making do with what I have, and it looks nice and it's clean and it's fine. If you continue walking through my house, you will notice that in certain corners of my house, I have things like this bag. And this is my little secret. One of the weaknesses that I have, or one of the bad things, habits that I have, is not dealing with things. I don't deal with people. If they're talking bad about me or doing anything that hurt my feelings, I will never confront them. And the other thing is, if I'm cleaning things or decluttering things and I'm just so tired and I don't want to deal with that, what I usually do is put everything in a bag like this one or a box, and I put it in a corner and I don't look at it for months. The last few things that I did that with, I left in the trunk of my car for like a year, and I didn't put in donation. I didn't do anything. I just don't. It's out of sight. It's out of mind. I don't deal with it. And when I do get too tired of looking at that bag in that little corner haunting me, it takes like 10-15 minutes and it's done. But this is what I do, right? This one was like 2-3 months ago that I cleaned out my car, and it's been sitting in a corner of my house. And I don't even know what I have in here. Look, I have Olivia's shoes. I have some cords. I have socks. I mean, I have so many things. Yes, my car is that dirty. I have kids, guys. I have kids. But this has been sitting in the corner of my living room, and it goes to the door, and it goes outside the door, and it goes back to my room. I never deal with it. You see, God, salvation is the same way. When Jesus walks through the door of our hearts, he doesn't expect it to be Pinterest perfect. He doesn't expect it to be, everything really pretty and matchy or anything. What he wants is to see that you're trying. You're trying to keep your heart decorated and organized and clean. You're trying to let go of the things that no longer serve you. You're trying to vacuum once in a while, right? And wash clothes and pick up toys and do everything. When Jesus walks into our lives and he walks into our hearts, he's looking for the same thing. He doesn't expect all the furniture to match or everything to be perfectly organized. He expects to see that you're trying, to see a place that once was chaos, to see that you're actually cleaning it up and keeping up the cleaning schedule. He expects to see you decluttering on a daily basis, on a regular basis. He expects to be able to have fresh air when he walks into your heart. The problem is, and the reason why many of us are going to stay here in this earth, even after having served him for a really long time, is that as he walks around, he's going to notice sometimes that we have these little bags of stuff that we don't deal with. Maybe it's a bag of unforgiveness, of bitterness, of some mistakes that you haven't dealt with, of things that you haven't dealt with in your past, or you're just putting to a corner and not looking at it. And out of sight and out of mind in a Christian world, in the spiritual realm, doesn't work, because God is always looking at that. He's always looking into our hearts and reading what's in our hearts and what is in our minds, and He can see that bag. Somebody else may walk into your heart and see that you're a good person and see that you're organized and you're clean and you have a pure heart, and they don't see those little corners with those little baggages that you're carrying around. But God sees it all. When He's walking into our lives, when He knocks at the door of your heart and He starts walking inside your heart, is it clean? Is it organized? Do you have little corners with bags that you haven't dealt with, of things that you don't even know what's inside anymore, because you're putting off and you're putting off because you don't want to deal with the hurt, or you don't want to remember everything that you went through, and you're just putting it off, and you put it in a corner not to remember it, and you pay attention to everything else that's going on in your heart, every new thing coming in and coming out. But those things sitting there, you're not dealing with. The thing is that God sees it. And when He comes, He will come for a church that not necessarily is perfect, not necessarily has it all together, but a church that is clean, a church that is pure, a church that doesn't have these little things lying around and hiding them. We need to, as a person, especially during this time where we know that the signs are everywhere, they already begin, and it's only going to get progressively worse. We need to be able to ask God and say, God, show me what's really hidden in my heart. Show me how I'm doing, God. When you look down at me, when you see my heart, when you see my life, what are you actually seeing? Do you see things like other people see? Do you see things like I'm seeing, that everything is where it should be? Or do I have some baggages around, lying in the hearts, in the crevices of my heart, that I haven't dealt with, that I don't even remember that they're there, that I don't even remember what's inside? Do I have any of those? Is there bitterness? Is there hatred? Is there unforgiveness? Is there lust? Is there anything inside of my heart that's going to keep me from seeing you in all your glory when you come, Jesus? When you come, how is my spiritual clothes doing? Is it white? Or do I have stains all over it from things that I haven't dealt with, that I haven't treated, these spots? How am I doing spiritually, God? Because the Bible says that a lot of us are going to have a lot of surprises. Not just because we call Him Lord and we call on His name does it mean that we're going to be saved. Jesus is going to come and save people who are not only seeking Him regularly and reading His word and being in His presence, but people who are letting themselves be transformed in every single way. Sometimes it hurts, and it hurts for us to deal with certain things. But He needs to be able to knock at the door of our hearts. And when we open those doors, to be able to walk in and clean it all. And we then need to keep it up. Keep up the cleaning. Keep up the organizing. Keep up the decorations inside of our hearts. And not keep anything hidden from Him. He sees it all. And now is a time more than ever for us to take a look. Take a picture of our hearts. How is our life doing? How is our spiritual life doing? How are we as a person doing? Are we keeping things that we haven't dealt with that are going to keep us from going to heaven? Or is it completely clean? You don't have to be perfect. My furniture don't match. Not everything is clean all the time. Sometimes I have toys on the floor or whatever. Not everything is perfect, but on a daily basis, I clean and I try and I keep it up. And that's what Jesus wants to see from each one of us. Not perfection, because the only one who is perfect is him. But he wants to see you trying to keep it up on a daily basis and seeking him and letting go of things that do you wrong and that keep you from his presence. To clean up every single day and organize your life every single day and deal with these things, because these things hidden in the corners of our lives are the things that are going to keep us from seeing him in heaven someday. And it's serious. And we think that Jesus has been proclaimed and we've been saying, that he's been coming for ages now. But whether he comes for you today or he comes in a few years, we need to take a look in our hearts and see how our hearts are doing. And we need to deal with this, because just because it's in a corner and in a bag, I'm always thinking about it. This brings me stress because I haven't dealt with something that I have to deal with. Instead of dealing it with right away, I put it off. And this happens all the time. I have another basket right over there full of stuff that I need to deal with. I think as a church and as a people, it's time for us not to only open the doors of our hearts to Jesus, but to ask Jesus, is there anything in our hearts that we're keeping from you, that we have put away, that we haven't dealt with, but are going to keep us from seeing you in your glory, so that when he calls our names, when he comes and he calls us, that we may find ourselves pure-hearted and ready to live with him in heaven, and not hear the words, "Get away from my presence, I don't know who you are." We don't want to hear that. So it's time for us to deal with things like this, even if it hurts. It'll be a lot more painful if we can't get into heaven because of little things that we could have dealt with here on earth very fast. So may God bless you. And I will be praying for each one of you that you have a true encounter with God on a daily basis, and let yourselves be transformed by his grace and his power and his love, and let him have complete access of your heart, of every single corner, and deal with every single thing that is pulling you back, so that he can set a new path for you. May God bless you, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.